Bears, blog, boys, you know it all, computer, analytic, geeky nerds. Michael Schneider, Tom Cavanaugh, the Bear, blog, boys, know-it-alls, doing some podcast somewhere. Nobody wants to hear you. Geeks, you pencil-pushing, skinny jean wearing geeks, you.
Coming to you live from our mom's basement, this is the Bears Blog Boys podcast. I'm your co-host, Tom Cavanaugh, here with my good buddy and other co-host, Michael Snyder. Snyder, man, I'm still riding high off that Green Bay win. I'm not going to lie. I know we got to move on to the next game, but, man, seeing all the coverage and, like, the inside videos about it, like the NFL Films just posted that that kind of inside look at what happened, it still fires me up. I cannot lie.
Yeah, I mean, being on the right side of this for like the first time in 15 plus years after all we've had to endure as a Bears fan, always seeing the opposite side of it, we just appreciate it a little bit more because we've had those dog days. So I don't think anyone should apologize for still riding high on that win, for still, considering it one of the best moments of, for most people, my age, probably one of the best memories that you could remember, definitely as an adult, right? Going back to that, when Devin Hester returned it in the Super Bowl, but, we didn't win that game. So a lot of people could say this, especially against the Packers, right? This is one of their best moments as a Bears fan. So, yeah, I don't think anyone should apologize for still kind of having that hangover. But it is time for the Rams in a game that, Tom, surprisingly, I think is winnable, and I'm still fired up about it.
Yeah, I definitely don't like if you would have told me the Bears would have played the Rams before the playoffs, I think I would have been a little bit more worried. But like after seeing kind of how the game went against the Panthers and just kind of the way the Rams season has been trending, I don't know, for the last couple of weeks, I definitely think like it is not a long shot by any means that the Bears could upset the Rams here. I'm looking at the Vegas line now. I think the Bears were like 4.5-point home dogs, but I'm not sure. 3.5 points. So, yeah. So even Vegas isn't saying this is like an outrageous spread. People are saying this is like the biggest mismatch of the week. I don't necessarily see that, and we'll definitely talk about why. But just going into this game, Snyder, I think we have to start with some of the injuries that took place, or I guess the big injury that took place in the Bears game. The Bears will be without Ozzie Trapilo, their left tackle, in this one and for the remaining parts of the season, however long he's in it. He suffered a pretty serious patella injury, and it looks like Theo Benedict will be the next man up.
Yeah, you're kind of worried about that, how he's going to hold up in pass protection. Jared Verse is a dude. They also have another couple of dudes as well. So that is that matchup that you are probably going to be most worried about with the offense.
Most definitely. I think that's probably the scariest part of this Rams defense. We could start with the Bears offense and how they match up with this Rams defense. This Rams front is no joke. They are very good at generating pressure with four. They're definitely one of the most complete, I would say, fronts in the league. I don't think Jared Verse has been maybe like as impactful as a pass rusher as he was last year. Maybe like some of like the finishing stats aren't there for him, the sack numbers and stuff like that. And I think but ultimately, I think like the other guys have gotten better. Like we've seen Byron Young take a step this year, and then Kobe Turner as well. And their coordinator does a really good job at making things hard on offensive lines in terms of all the things he does from like a simulated pressure standpoint, gaming it up with stunts and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot to worry about with this front. There's no doubt about it. I think a huge crux of this game will be whether or not the Bears can block them up. And I think the Bears' use of play action will definitely be a very useful tool in that to try to kind of slow down the pass rush. The Rams' defense is significantly worse against play action, and they're significantly worse again in base defense. So I think, and that's defending the pass, I'll say. So I think those will also be two parts of this game where the Bears are going to try to slow down this defense by using some play action, by getting heavier bodies on the field and trying to pass out of those looks.
Yeah. And, this is why you love Ben Johnson as your head coach, right? The thing is with Theo Benedict, like he is who he is. He kind of struggles in one-on-one pass protection. But this is why you have a coach like Ben Johnson. You know he's gonna scheme around that, but then you're gonna have Caleb. He's gonna have to play a little bit faster. I do love when he comes out of play action. He's super decisive. Out of that, we're gonna need that, but it's gonna also start with the running game, where Theo Benedict actually is fairly strong.
Yeah.
So if he can help the running game out and they can get that going, and then you get the play action going, you don't feel as worried as you were, right? If you do find yourself where you struggling to establish the run like early on in that Packers game, and you are in some obvious passing downs, that's when you are worried about the matchup, right? With Theo Benedict. So I think the key is you're gonna have to scheme around that very early on. You are gonna have to play to his strength with the run game and just put yourself in those neutral situations, those favorable situations. That's gonna be the way you mask Theo Benedict, is if you're limiting the obvious passing downs. And I think they can.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be the game plan going into this. Things could get complicated if the Bears defense doesn't hold up like we saw last week. But I think that'll be the difference in this game, Steiner, is like the Bears obviously are going to have to try to run the ball, have to try to get into run looks, but they're really going to have to keep up with the Rams. So I also think the uses of 3 wide receiver sets will be big, and I think it'll be big in the run game. I would rather, to attack this Rams defense, I would rather run out of passing looks, like run out of 3 receiver sets, kind of spread everything out, make it harder for them to defend that space in the run game. Like I think their linebackers, Nate Landman, he's been really good at defending the run this year, but he's more of like an interior thumper, kind of play through a straw type of linebacker. I want to get him in space. I want to get him running on the move, trying to chase DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monungai. I think that's where you'll have more success. And then ultimately too, if you go into 3 wide receiver sets, you're going to be taking Poona Ford. I know he's questionable in this game. I don't know if he's going to play, but he's like one of the best run defending nose tackles in the league. If you go into those 3 wide receiver sets, you're taking him off the field. You can get after a guy like Braden Fisk, who's very light against the run game. I think if they kind of center their run attack going after him, that's where I'd want to attack on this defense, because Jared Verse, Byron Young, those are pretty good run defending edge rushers. I want to go through the interior, kind of on those wide zone plays, and double team Fisk into the second level of this defense. I think that's where they could be vulnerable against the run.
Most definitely. Here you really couldn't lean into it in the Packers game, but man, if we could finally have that game, right, like how we did against the Eagles and games of that nature, when we can totally lean into the run. Now you're talking about keeping the Rams offense off the field, right? And I know we're not talking about that yet, but that's going to be the key too, right? You are going to have to just move the chains, dink and dump. The best defense is going to be the offense that keeps either team off the field. So you're going to be excited. I hope they do kind of get exotic, get very creative with this run game and attack, guys like Braden Fisk when they keep it light.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the way. And look, the Rams in this past game, they played a lot of cover too. So it's not like they're like, dedicating bodies to stop the run. I think the style of defense, they play a lot of zone, that they're trying to, stop the big plays on early downs. I think we'll see more of that. But when you're talking about the passing game in this one, I went back and watched the Lions game, because the Lions obviously try to do very similar things to what the Bears do. That they try to kind of recreate Ben Johnson's offense when Dan Campbell took over. And I think the Rams are going to implement a very similar game plan and trying to stop. They kind of adjusted at half, and they try to stop those big crossers over the middle of the field, because again, that's a huge kind of staple of both offenses. I think they're going to kind of anticipate that, because the Bears do that so often. They want to attack the middle of the field. And I thought the Lions had a nice counterpunch on some of those too high safety looks, where Jameson Williams is just kind of running through the defense. He's going deep. And I think you can get after this secondary. If you can hold up in pass protection, their secondary players aren't that good, right? Like Manuel Forbes, he's had a nice bounce back, I guess, but he's really small. And a guy like Rome Odunze, I think, is a matchup nightmare for him, because Rome Odunze could just outbody him, out-physical him. And that would be a good matchup, I think, to exploit. But even across the board, like Quentin Lake, their safety, he's not the fastest guy in the world. The Panthers went after him whenever they got him closer to the line of scrimmage. I think you can match him up on guys like Bird and guys like DJ Moore that could just flat out outrun him. And I think those are really like great matchups to exploit. And then also like Jacoby Durant, super small player as well. I think he's like under 190 pounds. I just think that if you can get those guys in isolation, that's how you get after this Rams defense. We saw the Panthers be able to do that last week with Tedero McMillan and Jalen Coker. And I think the Bears have way more talented playmakers to make them pay even more.
I know this sounds like ages ago, but I'm pretty sure Emmanuel Forbes was the one that DJ Moore had the 3 touchdowns against on the Commanders. I'm not saying that's going to be the performance, but maybe you attack him the same way, right? Because of those mismatches, right? He's a light dude, but he's about 170, 180. Like he's very like the Bears. Their 3 top wide receivers. They're pretty solid dudes, right? They're all 200, hovering over 200 pounds. Adunze a little bit bigger, stronger there, but yeah, attack all those. Mismatch, just athletic wise, physically wise. You're gonna have it.
You're definitely going to have matchups. I mean, the Rams right now they rank 10th in EPA per pass, but like I think that's a lot of like schedule that helped that out. Like when they've gone up against better offenses like the Seahawks, like the Lions, like the Panthers got them twice, right? Like this wasn't like a fluke thing. The Panthers got them twice through the air. I think the Bears are going to have a lot of success. The strength of this Bears team is their receiving core, and are one of the strengths of this Bears team. And I would say the greatest weakness of this Rams team, they're pretty complete across the board. Don't get me wrong. Fronts-wise, offensive line-wise, they're very strong. But their secondary is where you can expose them. And I think that won't be different in this game. I'm curious to see like how the Bears want to go through the air, though. Like, do they want to keep those receivers on the field? Because from an EPA per play perspective, the Rams have been better against 3 wide receiver sets against the pass. But at the same time, I think the Rams haven't gone up against a lot of teams like the Bears where they have they're legit 3 deep in wide receiver, and they can really exploit the lack of depth that the Rams have in the secondary.
Yeah, and then also it's so funny, Tom, when you talk about those 3 horses at wide receiver, we're not even including Loveland in there as well. The guy you can just get super creative with. You can line out wide in the slot, and I love that, right? Going back to the Packers game, one of my favorite things actually about Ben Johnson and this Bears team is we're not predictable at all. I'm not saying we're a better offense than what he had with the Lions, but like St. Brown was your predominant slot wide receiver, right? Jameson Williams was kind of like your deep threat. The cool thing with the Bears is if you look back at this, the snaps and everything, there's like a very even combination of Adunze, Luther Burden, and DJ Moore and Colston Loveland being in the slot and condensed and then out wide, right? But then you could feature a lot of the different ones. Like you could have a game where maybe Burden's your leading target haver, right? You have Colston Loveland. Yeah, he just had 15 targets, was about double than the next guy. And then the Rams might think, okay, that's going to be their focus. But like, no, maybe Adunze is the guy who gets the 10 plus targets. And, there's no such thing as being predictable with this Bears team. And then with Ben Johnson, right? You have your 4 Ferraris of pass catchers, right? But then you have a head coach who's moving them all around the formation. This guy's out wide. This guy's in the slot. But hey, then don't forget about DeAndre Swift in the backfield, who's super explosive, right? Or that play action fake to Cole Kmet, who no one's expecting. So that's like the thing that I love the most about this Bears offense, and all the combinations you could do.
Most definitely. It's so hard to game plan for, I think, because I think the Bears game plan changes a lot, right? Like given on the defense. And Snyder, you said nothing's predictable. I think just when the defense starts to think that they're predictable is when Ben Johnson that's where his brilliance and genius comes through, is he has the right changeup at the right time. I think that the fake screen call where DJ Moore scores that last touchdown is a perfect example. They call 2 similar plays earlier in the game and then on that third time when it's not a screen and DJ Moore streaking wide open down the field, every single one of those Packers players thought that was what was coming. It was on a 2nd and long, a very, I would say, tendency play to call a screen where the Packers just had no shot. They all fell for the screen. I think that's kind of the beauty of this offense. Just when things start to look predictable, the Bears are able to do different things out of them. So it's a really hard offense to game plan for, especially when they can't get that run game going. We'll see. They weren't able to do it this week or last week. I'm sure they'll make an emphasis of doing it this week. Center, this is another game too where I know Ben Johnson caught some slack about the 4th downs he went for. This is another game I think you have to kind of go in with the same strategy. I don't think you can really play around on 4th downs. I don't think you're going to have a lot of room to be conservative. We were frightful of how the Bears defense matched up with the Packers offense. I think this is even a bigger challenge, and we'll talk about that more. But I'm just looking at the Rams defensive tendencies. Football Insights has like great charts kind of charting what each team does on defense and on offense. The Rams disguise coverage more than any other team. So that's another thing to watch out for. You can kind of see that when you watch them on film. It's a lot of cover 2 disguises. It's a lot. Honestly, they just kind of mix it up across the board. They're pretty diverse with their coverages, but they do disguise a lot of cover 2s. And they also stunt at like a league high rate. So they don't blitz a whole lot. They're among the bottom of teams that blitz. They blitz a handful amount on 3rd downs, but really it's just going to be about deciphering their disguises in coverage and then picking up the blitzes, passing them off correctly. That could be a challenge with getting a new guy in there and Theo Benedict. But if the Bears can do those things, I think they're going to be able to score points on this defense. That's where we've seen teams, again, it's all about can you block them up? And then I think their secondary is able to get after.
Yeah, I think my one nitpick with Ben Johnson is I do hope to see on like that 3rd and 1, that 4th and 1, you don't need to get like super creative, right? Like you have like in like the run game, you have arguably one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. You have receivers, tight ends that are super bought in and just play through the whistle and just put guys on their ass or just drive them down, right? And you have, running backs who have settled into your system. Trust that everyone do their job. Trust that they're better at doing their job and they're going to win the matchup. Who cares if it's predictable, right? Who cares if they know the play? I think you can still find a way to get that 1 yard, 2 yards on that third and short, 4th and short. I don't want to see the play or the fakes where Caleb Williams just backpedaling, has to toss up a prayer or run for his life, especially when it's like 4th and 1, right? Or I don't want to see a kind of like a reverse to a Cole Kmet and he has to ground the ball. And don't get me wrong, like maybe I get it like on like a 2nd and short or situations where it's like maybe 1st down and they jump off sides, now it's 1st and 5. Like I could understand running trick plays in those like super favorable situations. I don't like it on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Now I would rather see, instead of like, as far as like creativity, do what you did on that 2-point conversion, right? Where you came in with 13 personnel, then you spread it out wide. Then you got like a very quick decision mismatch with close to level. Like I'd rather see that on those short downs than like, kind of a little bit too creativity. And then you're like reasoning as well, the defense is expecting a run. But again, just trust your guys do their job and can actually just outman them. I think you're going to just trust your talent. I think you're going to win that situation more often than not. So I think those are the one like nitpick there that I hope we can get away of.
Yeah, I think he definitely needed to be better in some of those situational play calling moments where it's like, dude, you need a yard, like just run the ball. I totally hear you there. I don't think that's a nitpick at all. I think it's fair. And I think those plays will matter a lot more in this game than they did in last game, because truly, like the Bears were not great on 4th down, they were not great on 3rd down. They had a lot of 4th downs to go for because they weren't great on 3rd down.
Yeah.
And I think that will come up to cost you more in this game with the offense, obviously hitting on all cylinders the way the Rams offense is right now. But yeah, I mean, the Rams have been a pretty league average run defense. They've been pretty decent at defending outside runs, which is where the Bears want to go. I just don't want to – I don't want to like ever take away trust in this offensive line. I think that they're a really good group. So again, I if they were just flat out better than the Rams, I wouldn't be surprised. but I just don't want to kind of line up in heavy personnel and run the ball a whole lot against this Rams defense. I think that's kind of when you're playing into their strengths. If they can get Puna Ford on the field, and if they can kind of let their linebackers play tight, I think that's where they could have some trouble. And I really think it comes down to Snyder just when it comes to the Bears' balance is just get a rhythm, right? Like that's kind of where I think that they've struggled in the games in the past. Like I don't want to be playing from a game script that the way they were, where you're just having to pass your way into the game. And obviously they didn't totally go away from the run game, but I just wish that I hope that they find a rhythm earlier in the game to where then it opens everything else up. And the Rams are really worried about stopping one thing. And it's not just having to drop back and pass over and over and over again. I hope that they find some rhythm and I guess some success earlier in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they're just gonna have to execute early on, right? You can't
Yes.
shoot yourself in the foot. You can't do the. I think you got cleaned up fairly well against the Packers game. I don't know if there was really any illegal formation or the receivers not getting set early on. I think that did get cleaned up in the Packers game, and you have to continue that in the Rams game. Like you have to play on those early downs, very, very mistake-free ball.
100%. I'm looking right now. The Rams have actually been worse defending the run on inside runs. So that's something to monitor. I wouldn't think that just based on like their personnel. So that's something to monitor, right? Like, do the Bears want to go to like more of a gap centric type of run game? Should be interesting to see, right? I could definitely see that being the case when you get Puna Ford off the field, and if you want to run more of those gap, just like duo type runs right at a guy like Braden Fisk, even like Kobe Turner, I know is a good player, but he's on the smaller side for sure. Yeah, I can definitely see where that would make some sense. So I'm curious to see how the Bears want to approach it. I'm sure they're going to run a healthy amount of outside zone. That's what they do. But is this more of a defensive line where, especially if they want to play in 5-man fronts, do you start running more gap stuff? Do we start seeing more of the counter plays, the other stuff that Ben Johnson likes to get into? I'm really curious to see how that is worked into the game. And then also, too, I kind of brought up the linebackers. Is this a game where you can get Swift more involved in the passing game? Like we haven't seen that a whole lot this year, like where he's a designed player, like outside of a handful of screens. But is this a game where I think Swift could be an absolute mismatch to a guy like Nate Landman? Like I just don't see that going well for the Rams at all. He is not a coverage linebacker. Swift is a very shifty guy. If you can kind of break some of their defensive formations with Swift, or if you want to line Burden in the backfield or get close to Loveland, I think those are also mismatches to take advantage of.
No doubt about it, right? That's why you have Ben. I think he should get those matches, right? He did it a lot in the Packers game with Colston Loveland. And you bring up a good point. I would love to see DeAndre Swift on an island one-on-one, routing up one of their inside linebackers who isn't really known for his coverage, right? I think that's how you can have some explosive plays. And it's one of those things that Ben Johnson, even though he hasn't been doing it a lot, you're in the divisional round of the playoffs, fighting for your season. You're gonna have to dig a little bit deeper in your bag and do stuff like that.
Most definitely, yeah. I'm really curious to see what is Ben Johnson's approach. I think ultimately what it comes back to for me is I think you just have to be really sound against the Rams. Like you have to be able to pick up those stunts. You have to be able to figure out those disguises, because that's the thing when you disguise coverage. Like it does make things trickier for Caleb, no doubt about it. It's going to be harder to kind of read it out and figure out where to go with the ball. And I'm sure the Bears are going to see a lot of cover 2. I just know that's the game plan they're going to come out with, because cover 2 is to prevent some of those crossers in the middle of the field. They're going to have that pole player, whether it's the safety or the linebacker that's supposed to run the middle of the field. They're going to have that guy waiting for those big end breakers. So I'm expecting that. And it's going to be important that Caleb can figure out, okay, this is not going to be open. Where do I go to next? And he's been way better at that as of recent. But when they do disguise those coverages, they're going to leave big voids open down the field or in different areas of the field, because there's so many moving parts. when those guys are moving, you can make them pay. And I thought the Lions and the Panthers did a pretty good job of doing that. The Panthers had a really cool design it was a post wheel concept where T-Mac is running a post, and they have Quentin Lake, their safety, rolled up. The Rams do. I don't know if they were I think they were in cover 2, maybe cover 3. And they just get him on a wheel route, and like he cannot run with Jalen Coker. I think in those situations where they have these weird players in weird spots because they're disguising everything, right? Like they have Quentin Lake basically in man coverage, like down at the bottom of the field, a guy that's usually playing the deeper parts of the field. Like those are the moments where you got to make this Rams defense pay. And then beyond just the disguises, whenever they're in man coverage, I mean, that's disrespect to me, right? Like you're playing man against our receivers with your corners. Like you got to make them pay.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, right? You look at the Panthers with that. I like our skill players a lot better overall, significantly more, right? You combine that, you're talking about earlier, how just the physical height and weight mismatches that the Bears have. You feel good about attacking those dudes. So, yeah, I mean, Tom, I'm very excited, what this Bears offense can do early on against the secondary. It is going to be on Caleb to maybe make some quick decisions, stay in that pocket. But there's gonna be plenty of opportunities there, no doubt about it.
I'm looking at the Rams on mock draft, what they weighed in the combine. Granted, like this could be different measurements now, but we just don't know. So they're 2 starting corners. Jacoby Durant, he was 5'9", 180 pounds at the combine. Yeah. Emmanuel Forbes was 6 foot, 166 pounds. Yeah. So like the Bears, there's 3 trios of wide receivers are all 200-pound plus guys, right? This is a total mismatch. These are the types of receivers these guys struggle with. And not only are they 200 plus pounds, they are athletes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Burden and DJ Moore specifically can run.
Yes.
And I think that they're going to give them fits if Caleb is on point, if the protection's on point, and they don't allow the Rams front to take over this game. I think this is going to be one of the most challenging. And I don't want to sound like a homer, right? Like the Bears offense has had their inconsistencies. They've struggled in certain matchups. The Bears can't block this up. This game probably won't be very close. But if they can, and Ben Johnson dials the plays up like we know he can, I think this Rams secondary is going to have a handful. And that's why I think if this game does become a shootout, Snyder, the Bears can hang in, right? Like they have the firepower, they have the play caller, and Caleb right now is hot. So if he continues that hot streak, the Bears have everything they need to hang with a shootout with the Rams.
Yeah, and then, Tom, I think this is a good time to transition into the Rams offense going against the Bears defense. But I want to ask you, the game is supposed to be a cold one, 10 degrees, wind chills. Do you believe in, I don't know why, Tom, just maybe the Bears fan in me, maybe it's I like the narrative, right? You got Matt Stafford, who mostly in his career played inside the dome. He leaves to go to L.A. Do you think that rattles a guy like Matthew Stafford, and maybe just this Rams team in general? Like, how is it kind of like an old school mentality, or do you buy into that is actually an advantage for the Bears?
I think it's an advantage for sure. Do I think it's an advantage for Stafford or like against Stafford? I mean, it's harder than playing in a dome, right? I don't know how much of an advantage is because look, he played pretty dang well, all things considered, against Philly last year. At least they stayed in the game. They came back in a snowstorm. So it's hard to fully I think it's an advantage when you go up against like the Tuas of the world who like just don't have the arm strength to push the ball in the weather. That is definitely not Matt Stafford. He can definitely push the ball. But yeah, with the Bears team against the entire Rams team, it is most definitely an advantage. How big of an advantage? I'm not sure, Steiner. Do you have more of a strong take on that?
No, I don't. I'm very indifferent to that. But I'll tell you this. If it starts to snow or you see these guys getting rattled and you see the Bears have like this where they look like they're out physical, like battling the Rams here, I'm gonna tell you what. I think that's gonna put the end to the dome talks and everything like that. So I that's kind of interesting. I just wanted your take on that because I thought it's kind of like a fun narrative to talk about. the LA guys are coming to Chicago in bear weather and everything like that. I just wanted your take on it.
I think where the Bears will have more advantages is I think that you don't want to blitz this team, right? And we said that last week, and obviously it proved the Bears to be wrong, but this is not against all blitzes, but against cover zero right now, the Rams are averaging the second most yards per attempt. Like Matt Stafford is just like, he's been one of the best quarterbacks forever against the blitz, especially since he's gone to LA. So you don't want to blitz them, but I think the Bears will have to find different ways of bringing unconventional rushers to scheme up pressures. I think we saw the Falcons do a really good job of that at which is funny because that defense was kind of built in a Dennis Allen type defensive coordinator's image, and they have some similar players, or I guess players the Bears want to be similar with guys like Caden Ellis and like these hybrid linebacker rusher types. I think that's where you're going to have to find ways to throw this Rams protection unit off. And where the Bears will have the advantage is the noise, right? The crowd noise. That's what you want to do. You want to make things really hard. We love talking about motions and these cool play callers, but the problem is with the long play calls and everything that Matt Stafford has on his menu with McVay is those play calls take a while to get in, right? And you need to hear everything. So that is where I think the Bears will have an advantage because the crowd noise last week definitely played a factor in some of the collapsing. I think on that third down, Steiner, where the Packers couldn't get that play call in, these are the situations where you need that crowd to really rally behind you. And I'm sure being cold won't make it any easier.
Well said, Tama. Well said. So, yeah, definitely an advantage there. But in generally speaking, Rams offense against this Bears defense, it's probably the biggest mismatches that we've seen. Their offense is deadly. I mean, Puka is probably, I think you can confidently say, or if you can't say it this year, has been the best wide receiver in football. The guy is just a football player. And then the connection that he has with Matthews, those guys are just super in sync. But hey, you got Devontae Adams now back healthy. The guy's one of the best man beaters, one of the smoothest guys off the line of scrimmage that you ever see. His game has just aged like fine wine. Their offensive line, they're just studs all the way across the board. So I mean, I can keep talking about it, Tom, but definitely a mismatch. Definitely probably the biggest challenge the Bears have seen all season as far as an offensive attack. Probably even stronger than what we've seen against the 49ers a couple weeks ago.
There's no doubt about it. This is definitely the toughest task the Bears have had to go up against, and on either side of the ball, right? Like the Rams have the best offense in the league, in my opinion. They're just hitting on all cylinders. They have arguably the quarterback who's playing the best in the NFL right now with like the best play caller and most deadliest weapons. And their offensive line is pretty good. Like it's played pretty well, all things considered. Is it like this amazing group? No, but they definitely like don't have any like glaring weaknesses if they're all healthy. So I think their right tackle, Warren McClendon, I think he's a second-year player, is filling in for them. They probably protected him to where like the grades look probably better than he's played. I think you can probably get after him there. That's a matchup Montez Sweat needs to win. But like all in all, they're so hard to game plan against. We've seen them shred the best defenses in the league. Like the Seahawks have arguably the best defense in the league. It didn't matter. Like the Rams still poured points on them. The Seahawks just had so much difficulty trying to stop them. I'm looking at there was a graphic. It's offense adjusted net yards per attempt versus coverage, and I think this just goes to show you, like this graphic goes to show you that like what teams struggle against coverage wise. And there's like no good answers against the Rams. They are in the top end of like every single coverage. They're efficient. They're getting like chunk plays. Get cover 0, 12.6 yards per attempt. Cover 1, 8 yards per attempt. Cover 2, 8.2 yards per attempt. Cover 3. Like this is all in the top end of the league. So there's no good answers. The two I found that were interesting, Steiner, they're one of the worst teams. Not one of the worst teams. They're, I guess, below league average against cover 2 man, which the Bears don't run a lot of. The league doesn't run a lot of. I think that's more of a third down play call. And then they're not as good against cover 4, against quarters. And I thought the Falcons did a really good job in quarters matching what the Rams want to do. They basically just kind of kept all their safeties back in depth and attacked routes moving forward. Now, you could get in trouble with that because Stafford is so good at looking off your defenders. I mean, he no-looks passes all the time, right? Like, it is so hard to get a beat on what they want to do. But I think that's probably your best chance, right? Like, the Rams run game can be good, but I'm not like worried about it as I would be, I don't know, like the Lions or like a team with an explosive run game, right? That can really like make you pay in that way. I think I'm just kind of keeping bodies in coverage and praying for the best.
Yeah, I don't hate that approach. I guess it scares me, Tom. It's like I think the Rams can lean into that run game and average at like 5 to 6 yards and just keep the change moving. But then that's when the time of possession thing kind of scares me a little bit too, because I think the offensive line, the scheme, and just the running backs are very instinctive. You combine that with the Bears defensive line. That's the only thing that scares me, right? Is are they going to continue move the chains, move the chains, move the chains? Now the Bears find themselves in a quarter where they only possess the ball once or twice. And then here, if you do have that 3 and out, you do have that mistake, you're going to feel it so damn hard because you're very limited in how much you are getting the ball. I'm not saying the Bears should just go shot for shot with them. I don't know if that's the best thing. You do want them to lean into the run a little bit more, but I think the Bears are just going to have to step up if that's the game plan, they're going to have to just play out of their damn minds and stop that run game. Similar to how they kind of did that second half against the Packers. They totally shut Josh Jacobs down there.
Yeah, if the Bears can bring it like that in the run game, like that was like something I had never really seen for a consistent stretch of the game. Like they just brought it. Like they were just better. And that was something I just like didn't see coming. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think if they can play with that same tenacity, and that's really what run defense is. Like you can do some tricky things to kind of trick. I think we've seen that with Ben Johnson, right? Like he did some cool things to make it hard for defenses to kind of know where the ball is going. But ultimately, run defense is like an effort and will type of like, and I'm not saying the Bears play soft or anything like that, but I just don't think their linebackers are really great at filling when they need to, and they're kind of late to get to the ball. And then like I think they have a bunch of tweeners on the defensive line that aren't quite like I would consider strong run defenders that are just going to hold the point of attack. They were against the Packers. They definitely turned it around. And if they can get more of that, absolutely make the Rams one-dimensional. And that's the thing with the Rams. They don't live, but they're comfortable living in 13 personnel. We talk about Puka and Devontae Adams. They throw a ton out of heavy personnel, like more than any other team in the league. Like that is a big focal point of this McVay offense because they have tight ends they're really comfortable throwing the ball to. Jake Ferguson, Colby Parkinson, Tyler Higbee, all those guys can do some things as a receiver. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the route they go here. But ultimately, Snyder, I think the crux of this game, we talked about kind of slowing down the run game. And look, this is not a creative run game either. Like this is the Rams are pretty vanilla, I would say, in run game. It is duo. It is at you runs. That's what they want to do. Like that's exactly what they want to do. So it's not going to be like hard to figure out. But beyond the run game, the passing game, I think, is going to be the really hard thing to stop for the Bears. And this is, I told you before we started the show, this is a game where Jalen Johnson needs to make his money because I think if you can just allow him to be on Devontae Adams and if he can win that matchup, I think that's when you can put more attention to Puka. That's when you can make true double teams on Puka. Puka's in the areas of the field anyway, where it's harder to defend. He runs a lot of his routes over the middle. If you can like truly bracket him and just feel confident in Jalen Johnson one-on-one with Devontae Adams, I think that's as good of a shot as you're going to get in coverage.
Yeah. Jalen Johnson he struggled in the first half of that Packers game, and I think he did step up later.
He did. He played a lot better in that second half.
Yeah, it was night and day. Now, hopefully, you see more Kyler Gordon, right? Earlier in that game, I don't know if it was because of the injury, they kind of eased him in, and the secondary, the defense got a lot better when he was playing majority of the snaps in that second half. I'm gonna be honest with you, Tom. The thing that's on like the top of my head is, and I don't think they're gonna do it, right? And I don't know why. I would like to see more Tyreek Stevenson,
Yeah.
Sean Wright. I think he's just a more physical player at the line of scrimmage. I think he is a little bit more instinctive in man coverage, and I think when it comes through contact, he's a lot more physical than Nashawn Wright. Nashawn Wright, don't get me wrong, incredible ball skills, incredible nose for the ball. I don't know if that's what I don't know. It's like, what people always used to say Trayvon Diggs was, right? Like, okay, he
Yes.
makes cool interceptions, but he was always amongst the league leader in yards given up, and that's been the Nashawn Wright experience, right? The thing is with Puka and this Rams team and with Stafford, look at this stat, Tom. This has got to be the highest amongst the league, right? They've thrown in contested catch opportunities 38 times. They've thrown him the ball, and he's caught it 27% or 27 out of 38 for 70% of the time, right?
Yes.
They just have, even when someone's in tight coverage on Puka, Stafford trusts him, and then Puka is just a gamer, right? He is just a baller. He finds the ball, great ball skills. But I think you need someone like a Tyreek Stevenson who's very active with his hands, plays through the ball, and is very physical. That's the matchup that I would rather have on Puka, right? And I do also think that it's a night and day. I know this is a little bit overrated stat for quarterbacks, but I think a guy like Puka, who is, I'm sure this is top 5 in the league. He has 25 missed tackles forced. I'm sure that's top 5 in the league, right? The guy does incredible stuff after the catch. Tyreek Stevenson is a hell of a lot better tackler than Nashawn Wright and even Jalen Johnson, right? Like, that's like no question, right? The guy just plays with his head on fire. So I don't know if they'll do it, Tom, but I like that, how that matches up better than what we have with Nashawn Wright. I'm not, you can maybe get Nashawn Wright in the game, but I think the guy that I'd rather have on Puka is, a combination of Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm extremely worried about that matchup. If they get him in isolation, I just think it's going to be a really rough matchup because Puka is that good. Even if they get Devontae on Nashawn Wright in isolation, like I think that they're going to try to do that a handful of times because I think Puka is more of like your physical presence where he's just like physically, he's a good route runner, don't get me wrong, but like he's just physically like hard to stop. After the catch, before the catch, all of it. Whereas Devontae like is the route runner. Like he's the nuanced separator. And those are the guys that Nashawn Wright really struggles with. Like we talked about it. He's a playmaker. He's not like a catch preventer. Yeah. So, Nashawn Wright right now center 5th in the NFL in terms among corners in yards allowed. So, I mean, 13.2 yards per reception. Like, not great numbers, right? Like, not great numbers at all. He's heavily targeted. I think that's going to be – and we see the Rams do this all the time. They attack the weak coverage links. This is no doubt about it, a weak coverage link. I would definitely rather see more Tyreek Stevenson. I think he would hold up better in this situation. Will that actually happen? I have no idea.
Probably not. I mean, and that's the thing. They love Nashawn Wright. I mean, the Bears led the NFL in defensive takeaways, and I think that's their mindset of that's who the Bears are, right? They bend, don't break, hopefully force a turnover. I think the Bears feel like that's the reason why they've had their success this season because of that. And I'm not disagreeing. I think the argument has always been, is that sustainable? Do you want to live or die? You could live or die by that in the regular season going against, Spencer Rattler, Huntley, Jackson Dart. Like, that's fine, right? You could probably seal a game with that matchup. You're in the divisional round of the playoffs against a Super Bowl winning team, a team that's won a ton of playoff games, right? A quarterback who is arguably playing as good as any quarterback across the league. Do you want to live or die with that philosophy against this team? I don't think that's the smart approach. So that's why I would rather, give me the more physical guy, and then rather than pray and hope for a lucky turnover, right? Like I just don't think that's the best approach when you figure out are the odds in your favor of getting those turnovers. I don't think so.
Tanner, I love what you said about the tackling because that's something we don't talk about a lot, and like how big of a difference I think Tyreek Stevenson makes in that regard, especially against a team like the Rams, who they're one of the best screen teams in the league. Like
Yep.
we see some of Puka's best plays are what they're able to do with him in the screen game against tight ends. They do a really good job with tight end screens as well. And that's when you need guys like Tyreek Stevenson who are really physical, who are not afraid to fill in the run game, who are not afraid to fill. I'm not saying Nahshon Wright is, but Nahshon Wright's just kind of a smaller guy, right? Like it's just kind of the reality of the situation. Yeah, you're going to need those guys to be really active. Like that's, if you want it in this game, you're going to have to do the dirty work against this team because they are, for as high flying as they are, they're a really physical team as well. Like, and the screen, how successful they are with screens, I think speaks to that. So I think getting Kyler Gordon back will be ginormous at that element of this game because Kyler Gordon is a missile, like a heat-seeking missile against lead blockers. Like that's something he does really, really well. He takes those guys out. He can make plays behind the line of scrimmage, and getting him back will be massive. But yeah, the Rams, they give you so much to worry about, right? Like Stafford is money on his last progression. He's money over the middle of the field, but they also like have screens dialed up. They can also beat you over the top. They just give you so much to worry about, which is why they're so challenging to stop.
Yeah, everyone's gonna have to play with their head on fire. So when I was naming those stats with Puka, number 1 in yards after the catch, number 1 in missed tackles forced, number 1 in contested catch opportunities. The guy is just a football player, and he has that ability to just game break. Right? I don't want to see Nahshon Wright twirled up, and he's also number 1 in yards per route run as well. I don't want to see Nahshon Wright tangled up in a twirl, and then you miss the tackle, and then now Puka has a 60-yard touchdown, whatever it is. That's what I fear with Nahshon Wright. And I do think that Jalen Johnson has a tough matchup with Davante Adams, but that's more of a technical matchup, right? That's more of a route running or who's the better technician, right? Who's gonna win at the catch point there, right? Like I know that's just gonna be a battle, right? But the game breaker ability is with Puka, right? And who he's lined up with because of how nasty he is after the catch and just what he could do physically at the catch point against some of these guys. So yeah, that's what I worry about a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, they're going to have a good game plan for Puka. Look, we talk about the different things the Bears can do. We know their hands tied behind their back, right? Like this is not going to be a pretty performance in my opinion. They just need to hang in there. Can they get the occasional stop in the meaningful moments of the game like they did last week? I'm not saying it has to be the same exact game script where they have to shut them out for half, but can you get like a shutout or a turnover like once or twice every quarter? If you can do that, then I think the Bears will be in this game, right? We saw the Panthers kind of tighten up and do some things on defense and make things hard. And look, Stafford, for as good as he's playing, he misses a couple throws, especially down the field. Like there are things that maybe the Bears can get away with if they want to play more of an aggressive style, especially in the elements, right? I thought the Falcons did a good job of that. They took the right chances. I'm not saying that's like a sustainable thing, especially the Rams didn't have Davante Adams in that game. But yeah, I mean, there's only so much this Bears defense can do. They just need to make the occasional play in the meaningful moments of the game. Like, can you at least do that? And if you can, I think the Bears offense will have enough success to where they'll be in this game.
And that's the thing, right? You gotta put, I know this sounds like oh no shit, but like you gotta make sure the Rams are in a lot of third downs, right?
Yes.
But then how you mentioned earlier, you're talking about the home field advantage, you're talking about the crowd noise, you're talking about, hey, it takes a lot of time to get these plays in. And you've seen how detrimental it was against the Packers where they're in these like 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 10, delay a game, illegal formation, what was it? Intentional groundings. And now you're talking about a 3rd and long that are just so hard to overcome. And the Bears were in those favorable matchups against that offense. Those are the situations the Bears need to find how to get into those and get them off the field. I think that was huge in the Packers game. So I mean, I don't. Like, it sounds so obvious, right? Yeah, you put them in a lot of third downs, put them in a lot of third downs. But how you're going to do that is you have to hold your own against the running game early on, right? You got to play very physical brand of football. You can't let Devontae Adams cook you off the line of scrimmage. Same with Puka, right? Allowing for those very, very quick, easy layups from Matthew Stafford. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but those are the situations the Bears have to find themselves into.
100%. It's a shame the Bears, I don't think, have like a difference making player on their front that can really shift this game. But yeah, I mean, I kind of echo everything you just said, Steiner. Like, you just have to, can you make it difficult, right? What the Rams want to do? Can you just throw them off their game, at least for a period in this game? I'm not saying it has to be for the entire game, because realistically, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I just don't think the Bears have the firepower to do that. But anyway, Steiner, why don't we get into our final predictions, because we're winding down here. Man, it's really tough to look at this game and see a lot of outcomes in which the Bears win like handedly. I think if they were to win, it would be shootout type of game. I think it still will be a shootout type of game. I still think it's going to be very competitive, but man, this might be where the Cinderella story ends for the Bears. I think the Rams will end up winning this game just because they're a lot further down in the team building process, right? Like they have the pieces in place to make a run. The Bears still lack that on defense, and for that reason, I think I think the Rams will win in a close game.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I am optimistic. I think we would be the dudes as far would tell you if it was a huge mismatch, and we would tell you like, hey, the Bears really have no chance. That's not what I'm saying, right? Vegas has them as 3.5-point dogs, which is not crazy. I think Vegas is finally putting the respect on the Bears. I mean, you look at the Seahawks, the 49ers, they have the 49ers as 7-point dogs against the Seahawks, right? So that's how different, they kind of feel. And I feel like a little bit more respect was put on the Bears. But yeah, I just think the Rams do take care of business. I think they're just the more experienced team. Stafford and McVay, they're just so comfortable with each other. On top of Stafford with Puka, with his wide receivers and everything, they're just so further advanced as far as comfort level, going through all the reads, not just executing. They're just IQ for the game, connection with each other is a lot more advanced than we at a consistent level than we are with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and this offense as we speak, right? So I think that's a huge matchup. They're more experienced, right? They're more playoff wins. Like they've been on the road in these conditions and found ways to win these games. I loved this Bears season. Don't get me wrong, and everything, but the Bears just aren't there yet as far as advanced on the offensive side of the ball. But then you kind of combine that with a lack of talent on defense, going against this high-powered offense. Because like you said earlier, right? You've seen the Rams have their own way, do whatever they want to some of the top defenses across the league. The Bears aren't even in the better half of defenses, right? So I think it's a very, very, very tall task. However, I do think the Bears have a fighting chance, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's gonna be a respectable battle through and through. Maybe it is like the 49ers game, and it comes down to, hey, the Bears have the ball in the red zone. There's 30 seconds left, and the Bears are fighting for life. It could absolutely come down to that scenario. So yeah, I'm not saying this is gonna be a blowout. I'm not saying the Rams are gonna easily take care of business. The Bears are gonna put up a fight. At the end of the day, I just think the Rams are a little bit more prepared for this battle.
Yep. It's my same sentiment. Look, it's the Rams got Stafford in 21. So it's year 4 of the McVay and Stafford, like era, right? Like they are so comfortable with each other. They're
Exactly.
able to do so many things. They've evolved so much from how they started. It's crazy to where they're at now and all the different things that they do. So this is no, like if they were to lose, like obviously that would be hard to swallow as a Bears fan. Like don't get me wrong, but like it's not crazy to me. I'm not discouraged, right? Like I'm so happy with what the Bears have been able to accomplish. And I think, and I know there's going to be some people like echoing regression and stuff like that. Will the Bears ever get back here? But I think the Bears are in a totally different spot because for one, I believe in Ben Johnson and I believe in Caleb Williams and I believe in the staff that he's put around. And I believe in the offensive elements of the roster. The defense most definitely needs to get better. And that's what the big reason I think is holding this team back from me confidently saying the Bears can beat the Rams. But I just think that there's no reason to be discouraged if the Bears don't end up winning this game. And I do think the Bears have a legitimate chance to upset the Rams, as good of a chance as any underdog this weekend does. I just think that I cannot confidently say that they will, given some of the reservations their defense gives me.
And no doubt about it, right, Tom? I think why you're so happy as a Bears fan right now is you've seen Caleb evolve in this offense with Ben Johnson. And it's a reminder, it's just year one, right? And we're playing for the divisional round. And like I said, we both said the Bears still have a fighting chance to win this game. We're not waving the white flag by any means, but you're comparing the situation just from the quarterback head coach aspect of it, right? They've been together for a very long time. Stafford's been in the league forever, right? You're very confident as a Bears fan that Caleb can continue to evolve and continue to have that comfort level with Ben Johnson, do the very advanced things that Matthew Stafford does, be confident going through all those reads, be money on it from his first read to his last read. Like you're very confident, even though you talk about, the defense regressing, the turnover regressing. How you mask that is Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson in this offense evolving. And, the story from this season, you feel very confident that it is going to continue to evolve just because of all the growth they've shown this season. So, yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more optimistic as a Bears fan as a whole. Yeah, so I mean that's where I kind of went on a tangent a little bit, but yeah, that's where I'm at, man.
Yeah, I don't want to say a win in this situation is house money because I want them to win. Like, there's no doubt about it. This win means a lot. This game means a ton. Getting to the NFC Championship game would be monumental, honestly. It would be a huge shift in what we have been experiencing over the recent couple of years. But, like, I just want to also, and I'm not telling anyone how to be a fan, but I just want to also make it apparent of how grateful I am, right, of not only the success that they've had this season, but the guys they have at the top right now and the direction they're going and how confident I am in that. So it's really just more of a moment of gratitude I want to share with as being such a hard fans as we are, that they've gotten a lot right. And that is ultimately a really good thing, win or lose this game. And like we said, Sider, we're no way waving the white flag. The Bears have a chance in here. I would say a solid chance to win this game. It's just, I think that the Rams are a bit further along. They're the more experienced team, and they're probably the more complete team.
Yeah. One last thing, like this is the last moment, right? I understand why a lot of people say, hey, we're playing with house money. We won a playoff game against the Packers. I understand that, right? Just become where we came from as a fan base, what we had to endure. I understand where people say that, but this is the last year you can say that, right? You can never say that moving forward, right? Moving forward, you're not satisfied until you reach a Super Bowl and you win a Super Bowl, right? There's no more. You don't get satisfaction of having above a 500 win record. You're not satisfied about just making it to the playoffs. You're not satisfied about just getting one playoff, right? That's the last time you could say this statement is you're playing with house money. We didn't expect the last moment, right? That's where it ends. And I hope it doesn't end this week. But again, that's the last time that you could ever say that, because moving forward, now the goal is like, hey, this team's experienced. They won a playoff game. Now it's fucking time to keep taking this thing further and further. You're not satisfied with anything less moving forward.
No doubt about it, Steiner. You are right on the money. That the expectations next year are going to be really different, and I'm sure the makeup of this team will be different to kind of further the Bears' goals of making a further deep postseason run if it did end. But again, there's no guarantee that it ends. We are still confident the Bears will have a very good chance in this game, despite the ultimate result. We think. I'm hoping they prove me wrong. I really, really am. All right, Steiner. I think that's going to be it for us today. Hopefully, we are back to recap a Bears W. Until then, keep it real and bear down.
Bear down.